Welcome to Cyclops is Waiting For Me, an X-Men animated recap podcast with Wolverine and the X-Men, episode 14, Stolen Lives. I'm Rod, and we were just talking about this last episode. Like, this is a great episode, but compared to the last one, I feel like this is going to be underwhelming. I will say this one was more surprising to me. I'm not familiar with this version of a storyline, so we'll get into it.
And I'm JC, and I am more familiar with this version of a storyline. That's all I got. Cyclops is Waiting For Me is our bi-weekly podcast series. We're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode we can find. The podcast started with the original 1992 X-Men the Animated Series, which was building up to the release of X-Men 97. And along the way, we've completed X-Men Evolution, launched our companion interview show, the Xavier Files, which check in one of our recent spots in the feed for our interview with the voice of Rogue, Lenore Zan. And now that we know that season 2 is coming at some point for X-Men 97 in 2026, hopefully early in the year, we are dedicating all of this year to Wolverine and the X-Men.
Some quick reminders. We're a recap show about a series that started over 15 years ago. There will be spoilers. If you don't want to spoil it for you, pause the podcast, watch the episode, and come back. And we're currently not sponsored by or affiliated with Marvel Animation, Disney, or Disney Plus in any way. And I'm still kind of on the fence about these in-ear monitors. I just had to change the earbuds out. I'm hoping any issues I have with it is like user error.
You don't have 3 dots over your head, so we know that Disney isn't monitoring this. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM Pod on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook. I should just move Facebook into the number 2 spot because I really haven't posted on Threads or Blue Sky in forever. I forget to open them at this point. And at the time of recording, TikTok is still here, and Rod uploaded stuff to it. Sure. Oh. And we got through the entire intro in 2 minutes.
Oh, sweet. Okay, now we got to drag this next part out. So the penguin. Okay. Now onto the show.
If somebody did listen to the last episode, they're going to be really confused by that reference.
Today we're going to be talking about season 1. Oh, puberty. Season 1, episode 14.
We're not talking about puberty. Yeah. No, that was evolution.
No, I just squeaked, so I was like, it aired on July 31st, 2009, and currently sits at a 7.9 star rating on IMDb.
So also that means there was a pretty big break in between the last episode, which was mid-June, to end of July at this point. So I now think from how the calendar is breaking out that we're catching up to the date again.
Oh, so that's fun. Yeah. That's also an interesting break because usually stuff comes back, or at that time came back like in the fall, right? It was always a summer break. And this was kind of
usually like a late August, early September.
And I genuinely forget because, like, I don't know if it's just because I've been out of school for so long. I feel like I remember summer being squarely in like June and July and then maybe some of August, but it feels like now summer starts in August.
You mean from like a temperature perspective or like a kids out of school perspective?
Like a season. Yeah, like a weather season kind of thing.
I don't know. I'm in the valley, so everything is hot starting in May. Right? So yeah.
Oh, because like, but even like when I see like weather elsewhere, like because I grew up in Indiana, so when I see like weather from friends and family back home, it feels like in the holidays, snow isn't happening until after New Year's. Mm-hmm. And I remember, sometimes trick or treating, and it might be getting cold, and on a freak year, it would be snowing on Halloween. Mm-hmm. But like now, I feel like. When I hear about friends' kids going out, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's still like the summer is still the end of October or whatever." Like that is wild.
I just know from being on the East Coast, like we would start in June and then go back to school usually like the week before September started. Mm-hmm. Here in LA though, because I live close to a school, it is wild to me because like all of a sudden people are dropping their kids off to school on like August 9th, and I'm like, that is too early for school to start. Again, in the valley, I don't know if that school has air conditioning, but that just seems miserable because it's like 105 every day here. Because
I remember it being not a controversy, but like in the Midwest, like, does your school start before or after Labor Day?
Right. We were always before Labor Day because I was at a private school too.
But like a week or two, right? Like not the beginning of August.
A week. Not even 2. A week, yeah.
And then some schools would start after Labor Day, which kind of makes sense because like, why go to school for a week and then take
and then take a 3-day weekend. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, that was our tangent. So the previously on this time was all like
we took more time on the tangent than we did on the entire intro.
Right. There you go.
Yep.
So the previous thing on this
Why do
time
people listen to us, Rob?
for the vibes, or for Lucy.
For Lucy.
She's the cat.
They listen to the audio podcast for the cat that doesn't make noise.
You can feel her presence, right? Anyway, the previous thing on this week was all the Weapon X related flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So like Mystique turning into Weapon X and the Maverick episode and stuff like that.
Yep. Also, the whole like "what you don't remember me" kind of thing. Like it was,
Mystique.
yeah,
and which what we're going to talk about in this episode came back in a bigger way than I ever thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it gets into the episode at the mansion, a cell phone wakes up Wolverine, and
it's a fucking razor.
that's the thing. My thoughts in continuation was like, wow, strangely modern. Then it fall on the ground like, oh, it's a razor.
Yeah, because iPhones were out by the time this came out. So
that's right. But was that still when it was only AT&T or something?
Give or take, yeah.
Because I think people forget about that. Like there was a time you could only get it if you were on AT&T.
Was, like the first 3 iPhones were only AT&T.
I think so.
And then it opened up for everybody else.
I think I remember the first like widespread iPhone being was it called 3G at the time, or is it just 3?
It was 3G or 3GS. I can't remember.
I think it was like 3.
They added S's and stuff too. Yeah.
I think S started at the 4 because I remember 4S being a thing or something. Yeah. Then I think I got a 4 or 5. I can't remember like that. But. Yeah, anyway, so and then a strange voice who I don't know if you're supposed to recognize it. We find out later who it was, but I didn't recognize it.
I didn't recognize it.
Said Christy Nord's in trouble. And then the next scene, because I'd forgotten who that was, shows
of course you did.
Was like, I know we're supposed to know that name, but then they show him hologram calling her, which is a strange context because
he's shirtless and she's just on a cell phone.
Yeah.
There is no indication that he should have a camera on her unless he planted one at her farm.
Yeah, right. Or like it's speaking of iPhone stuff, it's like that Vision Pro thing where you have that CG avatar of yourself.
You
know,
like
because
that.
I think she was in like a different, like slightly different positioning, like her body than in real life and in the hologram call.
I didn't pay that much attention to the positioning. I thought it was just like, just like chest up kind of scenario, and she was chilling on her porch, which also gave less indication of why he would have a video hologram feed of her.
Yeah, I guess it was just because they're in like one of their war room situations, and it couldn't also be on the phone. She
has great reception.
Right out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, middle of the woods by like the Canadian border. Yeah.
So yeah, hologram calls her, and then he flies out. There's a big like action sequence of like the X-Jet. What is it called? Is it called the Blackbird in the show?
I'm going to go with Blackbird.
Blackbird. So he flies the Blackbird out. He gets.
They're also very friendly now too. Apparently, like she's like the whole like forgive and forget thing happened really fast. Obviously, shit happens off camera, but like she's like, "Oh, I was excited to hear from you," and it's like, the dude still was there when your dad got abducted.
Yeah, I guess she kind of came to grips with like he did try
or killed. She doesn't even know it was an abduction. Yeah,
he tried to save him, so maybe. He gets there and her place is destroyed. I'm going to be honest, this happened so fast, I got confused of where we were. Because they showed the waterfall, and I was like, are we at the X-Mansion? Because the X-Mansion has that cliff and stuff. But
they put a lot of emphasis in her debut episode about that waterfall of like being where he was doing like the overlook from. I actually was like kind of confused as to like what the thing that was burning on, because they call it like one of the Weapon X choppers later.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like a chopper. So I was like, what is that weird alien thing that is burning right now?
So that's the thing I was kind of confused about. I was like, did the Blackbird crash or something? It was anyway. So he gets there, and then you quickly realize through context clues, like, oh, her place got destroyed. So he's like, oh, frick, like, and then Mystique pops up. He's like, I told you she was in trouble. And then like, in any other world, she would have like
it would have been spiked right there.
Yeah, she just would have been dead.
But
like. The motion was such an interesting choice. It kind of makes me believe that they storyboarded her getting stabbed or something.
Yeah, because from a power perspective, she could get stabbed and not die.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know.
Because she's so malleable.
Because she could just change into whatever. You can change it to a bird or dog.
Or no, I'm saying just literally go through her and it doesn't kill her. Which is further reason why Dark Phoenix is a piece of shit movie, but we don't need to get into that.
Well, Jennifer Lawrence definitely visibly wanted out of that contract.
She chose not to do her powers just so sure her character would die.
I said this when the movie came out. Like, I really remember leaving the theater. And first of all, when the credits rolled, someone in our audience yelled, "I want a refund," and everyone agreed. And then when I left the theater, the people that I went to see the movie with, like, "What do you think?" I was like, I feel like you could visibly see Jennifer Lawrence's relief that she was done with this franchise.
It was a very happy death.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like they tried to get away with it of the like, look, we won't show blood, but it's that they were like, well, we beat the shit out of 2 women in the last episode, so we can't have you go as hard in this one.
Yeah, and we haven't seen Mystique in a little while, I don't think, right?
We saw her in the last episode because she was the one who invaded the base.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But I guess I mean like
interacting with the X-Men.
Character. Yeah.
It would have been when she kicked her son in the face.
So she ends up being like a way main character in this one, which I didn't expect. So it cuts into the opening sequence, and then when they come back, Mystique, reveals, I guess, or like points out to Logan that he should know this is a Weapon X.
Yes.
Attack.
She gives a full exposition dump right here for us.
Yeah. And then I even recognized there was that homage to the comic book cover with the claws reflection thing.
The shadows on the claws were incorrect, though.
Oh, I didn't notice.
It is like the most nitpicky shit, but the angle of the claw marks across her face did not line up with the position of the claws in his hands.
Oh, like the reflection and stuff. Oh, you see shadows?
It was shadow.
Okay.
It was really weird because it was like, it was intentional, but it did not line up. But yeah, so that's where, she starts talking more about, Weapon X, the program, and they're turning mutants into weapons. And that's obviously a concern for Magneto, is her cover of why she's there.
Mystique and Wolverine decide to like work together. It's be an interesting like dynamic. So he goes off to look for, I'm probably skipping over a bunch of stuff here, but like it was so interesting that she was taking a book bag with her on this trip.
Yeah, and I don't know why that was even there.
Well, we find out later, but like at the same time, I'm just kind of used to Mystique turning into like birds and shit, And
this Mystique is not turning into animals, at least. Yeah.
And so like you said, like because it's the Magneto thing, she's like, well, you kind of need me.
Yeah, she pulls an Emma. She literally did the same thing that Emma did in like an earlier episode of like, I could tell you shit, but I'm not going to because then you're going to leave me behind.
That's so funny, yeah. And to her credit, I believed her with all the Magneto stuff. I was like, oh, yeah, that tracks. And
then they give like the it's tracking by thermal signature, which I don't know enough about science. We could add that into the Tamara doc that we're never going to ask her. But it's like, yeah, well, once they land, then what are you going to do? And that's the excuse of why she still has to come with him.
Yeah, and so then on the Weapon X ship, I guess, is the whole program called Weapon X?
Yes.
I guess, okay, so like, I was still confused by the different continuities. Like,
yeah, because it's they've made it more streamlined in other stories because you have like Department H is the Canadian government thing, and then like it's the Weapon Plus program. So you don't call the person Weapon X and the program Weapon X.
Yeah, or the one I was most familiar with, that he was the 10th one, and stuff. But we see Maverick.
Right, that's the plus. It's Captain America was Weapon 1, he was Weapon 10. Yeah,
and we see Maverick on there, and so the Blackbird is tailing the ship, and then Wolverine's like, "Come get me later." She's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I need to get some air." And then he opens the hatch, and he like just torpedoes himself into the Weapon X ship.
First, they shoot a missile at him. He hits the back of the ship too. So like what kind of wimpy ass missiles do you guys have? But yeah, then he literally just throws himself out of a moving plane with no way of directing where he's going to land.
And this might just be my age, but I had so much like anxiety at that moment because I just imagined myself in this space where I have like no control.
And then the plane is doing this, and you just go right past it.
Something, yeah. But he dove through is it called a windshield?
Cockpit, yeah.
Cockpit, like that front window. and shatters it, and faces off with Maverick. And
after beating the shit out of a few of the other soldiers on there.
Oh yeah, like there's a lot of goons that are kind of like Snake Eye from G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I can see the design. Yeah, but like the recent shitty version of Snake Eyes, not the classic cartoon.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, not the ninja one, the more like not robotic, but
yeah,
like the tech suit, and almost immediately gets thrown out of the ship.
Yeah, because he's trying to like, snap him out of it and relate to him, and Maverick is not having it. He does have the quick call out of "It's your daughter," and there's like a really fast flashback, and then he just throws him out of the bottom hatch. Yeah. And if this was paint by numbers, which we've seen this show is not, then it would have been like, oh, Mystique swoops in with the Blackbird to save him, and that does not happen. He literally just crashes through the cafe.
Yeah, and you said this is a different one.
Yes, because this is geography? Not... Yeah, geography. Because they're not in the same town.
It was the same model, though. Because it was the same, front porch thing, and, almost similar... Not the same waitress, but similar character styles and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, another, example of, the power levels durability levels of everybody here. Because I even put a note here, is they imply that his neck snapped.
Oh, yeah.
Because he puts it back in place.
Yeah, he's all janked at, janky. He's, literally, kinked up and everything. This is that era where Wolverine power creep really started to happen. Of, he's, getting dropped out of planes, and obviously they're not going to bloody him up here, but he's also, able to get up and start moving pretty quickly after a massive fall. So
he does something pretty comparable to what Juggernaut did the previous episode. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have quite the explosion, but he survived that thing.
Mm-hmm. He just pops his neck back into place. It's not. Yeah.
Then at the Weapon X facility, I had forgotten his name, but he's Cornelius. My note says Ginger Doctor.
Well, because at least I had said, I thought that the professor was Cornelius.
Same, yeah.
But they never called the names out in this show, so I think it was just the assumption that Professor was Dr. Cornelius. This is the first time they actually dropped to us that the Ginger is Cornelius.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't completely... I just assumed I'd forgotten something, because my notes do say... Okay, so my exact notes here say Cornelius gets briefed by the Ginger Doctor.
Right.
So, okay, that's what I thought.
At that point, it hadn't formally been established other than the Hulk versus Wolverine movie where they called him the Professor, and we just all assumed Professor Cornelius. So
that kind of reminds me back on the East Coast when I was working at an audio company, right out of college, so actually right before this animation came out, it was 2005, 2006. Mm-hmm. There was a guy, if you're listening to this, funny story, he knows this, so there was this guy and then his boss, and I always called his boss Naj, because everybody called him Naj, N-O-J. Mm-hmm. And for 4 years. And then one day, the receptionist at the company I worked at was like, Rod, why do you keep calling, I forget what his name is, Mike Naj. And I was like, isn't that his name? He's like,
you reversed him for that long?
Yeah. And it was I was like, well, because they would always be in the same, they'd come in together.
Right.
And he worked with us, but he didn't work in the same company. Just, they would come into the office a lot. Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty obvious, because the guy that we were actually calling Naj, his real name is John Jon, so that's why they call him Naj backwards, N-O-J.
Okay.
And I was like, never put that together, but everybody else did. I'm not good with word puzzles. Anyway, so this is a similar kind of okay, so Professor and Cornelius, two separate people, and we've seen them both, but they're always referred to in the same space. So that's where the confusion comes in.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I had always, there was a Cornelius, and then the other dude literally was just generic Ginger Doctor guy. So, yeah.
And then Wolverine.
Cornelius doesn't seem evil enough. I think maybe that's why.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I read Cornelius as a character as needing to be more evil, and this guy is Ginger Santa.
Right.
Scared Ginger Santa.
I get it. Yeah, Cornelius sounds more nefarious than the character design that we got.
Yeah.
But then we catch up with Wolverine, who has come across the wreckage
Yes.
I'm not familiar with this depiction of his powers, but he can smell the history. Like, did you ever watch the BBC Sherlock?
No, but it also feels like what they did in Batman Arkham Asylum, where Batman like looks at three things and then gets the image of everything that happened in front of him. But I think it's probably the same visual.
It's kind of like Sherlock. So like in the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock in the BBC, his whole thing was like he would kind of how they showed how he deduced things is you would see like numbers coming off of walls and scenes playing out and stuff. So that's kind of like what they did here. They showed like if you just dropped in that one scene, you would think he was like watching ghosts.
Yes.
Like everything was just happening.
Yep. Yeah, that trope has been used as a mechanic in video games a few times I've seen.
So Wolverine, they kind of speed run Wolverine through that whole thing of Maverick, like them crashing, Maverick taking everybody out. And so then Wolverine actually just track him down at the safe house. He finds Maverick and the crew, and my only note here is big old goon fight. This is all the Snake Eye goons. You know, kind of get their asses. Was this where they had the smoke bombs?
So there was the smoke bombs, and then they start electrocuting him, and that's when Mystique comes in, makes the save, and we get a dual Wolverine fight against goons.
Yeah, Mystique is one of the soldiers. They do the double Wolverine fight. Then he actually calls out what you said. Is like, where were you earlier when I jumped out of when I got thrown out of the plane? Like, well, I'm here now. Like, this is funny that they call out the things that would have been tropes.
But also, to Mystique's credit, if somebody is falling at a really high speed and a jet is going perpendicular to it, this is bad. Like, connecting like that is a very bad thing for both parties.
You just reminded me of, so even though the show turned out not to be so great, and if you love it, that's great. I'm not trying to bad mouth you.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what show you hate.
What originally sold me and my old roommates, actually Amanda, the possibly mutant in the real world, on The Big Bang Theory when it first came out.
Yep.
Do you remember the first episode?
No.
Like the very first
It's
thing
been so long since I saw that episode.
So that show actually sold me in the first 10 minutes because of the conversation the two main characters were having coming up in an elevator or walking up the stairs. And they were like, it doesn't make sense.
Because the elevator was broken.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Superman doesn't make sense because if Superman were to catch Lois Lane, who were falling off a building and his arms were made of steel, or the strength of steel, he would cut her into 3 equal parts.
Yep.
He's like, it would be much more merciful to like just let her hit the ground. And I was like, okay, this show, I thought the show was going to be great at that point, and then obviously like kind of went off like some problematic rails and stuff. But like, I like that thing. It's like, yeah, in an animated show, that'd be fine. She would catch him, whatever.
Except for the fact that it would literally here's what's going to happen. There's a combination of splat as well as adamantium ripping through the front of that jet.
Now I would like to see the boys' version of this.
It's kind of like when Corridor did realistic Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. So, but what would happen is like his flesh would like be like a bug on a windshield, but then his skeleton would like be like a bullet through the entire jet.
It's kind of like don't they like test like plane like windshields by shooting chickens at them or something like that?
I didn't know that. That does not sound humane.
To be fair, they're dead chickens. Like they buy,
okay.
Yeah, like chicken you buy.
I don't know why in my head I was picturing live chickens getting shot.
Because we're an awful people, Rod, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But like, I just picture that, but you also have like a bowling ball inside the chicken.
Anyway, so during this big fight...
It's the worst visual ever.
Speaking of visuals, in the middle of this fight, I have my note here, Maverick Homer Simpson's out. They really like this like back into the... Yeah, I think he backed into like some doors, so it wasn't quite the fog or grass or something, but just funny, like, nope.
Yep.
And then in this dialogue, Mystique reveals to Wolverine that she was also part of Weapon X.
Right, and that's the first time we got that.
I'm not familiar with that version of Mystique. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely had history outside of just their time on like the X-Men and stuff like that. I don't remember her ever formally being a part of Weapon X as a story point, though. So. Okay,
I wasn't sure if that was maybe like a B plot in like one of the movies or something, because obviously everybody knows how much I hate the movies, but like...
no, because Jennifer Lawrence wouldn't have been Mystique yet, and you got to remember She died in the first movie. She was when it was Rebecca Romaine.
Wait, really?
Or first or second one, but she got offed pretty quick.
Oh wow, okay.
Right? Am I making that up?
I don't remember that, but also
I feel like she got stabbed.
She did get stabbed. I can't remember when that, like, well, I'm not trying to. I don't want to remember those movies, but I do remember her dying. I don't remember it being so early. But I just didn't know if like her past had been. But now you remind me of Jennifer Lawrence's character or version of her grew up with Xavier.
Oh, you know what? She didn't die in that one. They shot her with the cure and they took away her powers.
That's right. I do remember that one.
Yeah. Spoiler for a shitty movie.
Right.
Also, you know what it was? It was me hoping she was going to die. That's
right.
what it was.
Although I do like that design of Mystique. I think that was a really clever way of having like a real life action, because it really showed off like the athleticism and stuff, and the scales was kind of like a creepy, kind of cool idea. Anyway, back at the facility, Maverick shows, I'm gonna have to keep replacing his name, Cornelius, the image of Mystique and Wolverine together.
Yep.
And then my next note says, "Wait, the ginger doctor is Cornelius."
Yeah, and that's where I had to adjust my notes to saying the professor arrives. And that I literally put name drop. Yeah.
And so I guess.
And then they're instantly all scared. They're like, oh, if those two are coming, we're fucked and we have to evacuate. Like, there's no, we could stand our ground. Sabretooth could take them. Like, they're instantly like, oh, that is the duo who's going to take us out.
Yeah.
It was really resigned to failure, honestly.
Yeah, because I guess we always knew she was going to come back. And to me, it kind of implied that Mystique, this version of Mystique inherits like all the physical capabilities and powers. Who she turns into, especially because she did the Wolverine fight.
Yeah, but that's a little more like I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe it. Like, she controls like molecules within her body, so it's like she didn't gain like Logan's healing factor because she copied Logan. She just made claws that look like claws because it's just a physical transformation, you know? Yeah. Because I think evolution got you all fucked up with Mystique, to be honest.
Sure.
Like when she's like, I could turn into a multi-part spider or a scorpion or whatever it was. I'm like, that does not make sense.
Wasn't there a couple times she turned into like multiple animals?
There was the scorpions where she literally turned into multiple scorpions.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not how that works.
She's also multiple man. And so back on the jet, Mystique reveals to
the lore drop. Yep.
Yeah, that I had here they worked together. I actually, like, looking back, I don't think she said they worked together, but they knew each other.
Yes.
Back then, and she was part of Weapon X. That's how she knows about him being part of Weapon X.
I specifically wrote down knew each other. And what was it? They basically like got stuck doing bad things was kind of the big takeaway. But then Cornelius came in and started experimenting, and that's where she got away because some dude who she cared about saved her life. Yeah. And I totally was not picking up on the context clues there.
Me either, because she specifically said he didn't make it or he died or something.
Yeah. He sacrificed himself.
That's right. Yeah, he sacrificed himself. Yep. And then Sabretooth interrupts and attacks them. Wolverine fights him and tells Mystique to go look for Christy. Mystique, on hindsight, this wasn't a good thought out detail to have in there. Mystique looks back and hesitates to leave Wolverine.
And it's like, why was she hesitating? Because it seems so out of character for her.
Yeah. Yeah. But then she sneaks into the facility. They don't clear up what this is. This is just kind of like comic book sabotage. There's like some tanks, and then she contaminates them.
Right.
Sure.
I was trying to figure out what that was, and I never got a resolution.
Some sort of power cell or something. At first, I thought maybe she was trying to like contaminate the other Weapon X thing or something. But
that's what it was like, because they say it was contamination, and then the facility was going to self-destruct.
Yeah, it's like some power source, I guess, or something.
Or I don't know why. Like maybe just turn off the liquid that is contaminated. Right. But whatever.
And so she tries to sneak away. It appears she gets caught by a soldier, but it flips to another scene. In a cell, there's a little girl that the professor says needs to be moved. I didn't quite catch on that was X-23 just yet.
Oh, dude! The second I saw the second I saw it was a girl in a private room, I was like, oh, that's definitely Laura. That's 100% Laura. Yeah. And
then Sabretooth, like kind of knocks Wolverine down and then cuffs him.
Yes.
Which is interesting. I guess, was it supposed to be like the Genosha collars?
I got more that it was magnets, and that's why,
I know the magnet part.
Well, because they magnetized, but it also made them retract.
Yeah.
Because his mutant power isn't having the claws; it's the claws are like attached to his bone. So it was like, oh, they made them retract from like a magnetic perspective.
Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I thought it was just taking away his powers, but that would make more sense.
Yeah.
And Sabretooth has his remote, which ends up becoming a small, important detail later.
Mm-hmm. And then we see the professor outside picking up the remote, and there was like a thing that looked like an animation glitch to me, which I don't think actually was. That's what I was writing down. Yep. So Sabretooth gets told by the professor to basically like, hand it over, and that they already captured Mystique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Sabretooth catches on then. I feel like in another version, Sabretooth would have smelled it.
Mm.
But in this one, they made it look like he like deduced it from what she said.
Yeah, same.
And so it's actually Mystique. She does her usual flying kick.
Yeah, the mega kick to the face, which takes everybody out.
And then Wolverine and Mystique continue through the facility. Wolverine is walking by different rooms and starts having flashbacks of
the adamantium installation.
Yeah, the same thing that we've seen in 100 different versions.
Yep.
And then they attack the main room and get to the pod with Christy in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the professor shows up with X-23.
And there's also only 2 minutes left at this point.
Oh, that's right. They had the timer going.
Because he actually, X-23 shows the claws, and the professor's like, no, not right now. And then he calls her X-23. So
that was an interesting little detail. He was just showing her to as like a mental game,
right? Because he says Wolverine. He was preserving Logan's legacy.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah.
And then the professor, before he leaves, calls Wolverine James.
Yes.
This is more like fucking with his head.
Right. Which
Maverick had taken out.
You had heard that from us at some point, though.
Yeah, I do know his name is James Howlett. I think that might have even been in the movies or something.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't remember where I first heard it, but yeah, it started in the comics in roughly the 2001 era. So
yeah. Also in that fight, Maverick had kind of like knocked out Mystique. Mm-hmm. But Christie's in the pod. She wakes up, recognizes her dad because his Maverick's mask got knocked off. Mm-hmm. I thought because of the way that Logan was hovering over Maverick, that she would have freaked out, thinking that he killed. It
was happening again.
He killed him again, but none of that happened. She recognizes her dad, and then as the jets with the professor or the copters with the professor and stuff are leaving, we see the facility explode. But Christie's power, like she made like a force field around them or something.
She did the ground manipulation stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's an earthbender. I forgot about that.
Yep, she's an earthbender. Also, recently picked up the first issue of the Captain Planet and the Planeteers comic, which is being published.
Is that the one with like Daddy Captain Planet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah, with the beard on the cover. Yeah,
interesting choice.
And they basically have Kwame as a earthbender.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Are they trying to make this like dark or something? Or is it still
They're doing the same thing they do with the Power Rangers of like, you have IP that people who are in their 30s and 40s like, and you're writing it for a 30 to 40-year-old. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it still campy or?
No, there is no camp in that first one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think about that. Also, at the same time, though, like, they had to make it more interesting because those episodes, and when I say they don't age well, I don't mean that, like, I don't think there's anything problematic in it. I just think they're boring. It's like He-Man. I go back to watch Captain Planet. I'm like, man, it's so boring. Like,
I mean, honestly, we lucked out with this series because I was never having had watched Evolution before or this show not as much of a concern because it was like late 2000s, but like Evolution could have been like Saturday morning cartoons in the bad way. So yeah.
I feel like the ones that ended up being boring for me were like the ones that were more like the early 90s, late 80s things, you know? So like the He-Mans and the
Ninja Turtles.
Actually, Ninja Turtles for me still age well, but I think it's because of how goofy they were.
Yeah, which is not my vibe.
Yeah, and still not great. Like I still like I enjoy I love those in nostalgia, but like the new Ninja Turtles animated movie, I love. Like I watched that quite frequently. I bought it to watch. Well,
with the Ninja Turtles, it was like there's a change in vibe between the first like 2 or 3 episodes to the following episodes too. Like it actually feels like a slightly different show. Like they got notes of like we need to make this more toy centric, you know, toyetic. That's the phrase. Yeah.
I also guess I gotta put a disclaimer on this because I might have mentioned this in a previous episode, like maybe over a year ago now.
Yeah, we do that.
I haven't watched through the whole series of Ninja Turtles again, but the first episode is so hilariously unhinged to me that maybe I'm enjoying it a little bit more because to anybody that hasn't watched it in a while, the first episode, there's like a rash of like crime across New York, and the authorities deduce that it has to be the Asians because no guns were used and only swords were used. And I was like, this is wild. It's not even offensive. It's just hilarious.
Yep.
They're just like, well, it's got to be the Asians because no one used guns. And I was like, my God. And then that's how the turtles get kind of wrapped up in it and stuff. I was like, ooh, this is crazy. It's hilarious.
Yeah, the turtles are friends with the Asians, obviously. Also, since we're on a Ninja Turtles tangent, there was a great meme that was getting shared about the time where Casey Jones finds a front for the Foot Clan and he decides to interview for a position there, and he shows up in a suit while still wearing the Casey Jones mask.
I love like that kind of like all that stuff from like the 80s 90s stuff. I think that's why I didn't like the X-Men movies because like no, I don't want realistic. I want identifiable and fun. Yeah, Casey Jones, like, yeah, it's the same thing with like Beast in a trench coat and a hat, right?
Yes.
Of course, that's not. But like, I like seeing him. I don't want to like see something realistic.
With his Howard the Duck shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? I'm gonna assume you didn't see this because it doesn't seem like your vibe. Did you see the Lilo and Stitch remake?
I did not, but mostly because it got spoiled for me, and I do not agree with the end choice.
Oh, that we're going to talk about here. I feel like I don't agree or disagree with it. It is much more nuanced than I think the internet is capable of handling in large quantities.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring up Lilo and Stitch is because Pleakley and Jumba are in human form for the majority of the movie. They do have an alien form, but before they get into human form, they do the trench coat and hat thing, and I did kind of appreciate that.
Appreciated the attempt, yeah.
Like, because they do have like scarves around their face, but it's like in actual real life, if you see someone like wrapped up that much, like a scarf around their face, sunglasses, a trench coat, and a hat, so you would call authorities. But like in this movie, it's like it's just normal. They're just some trench coat people walking through this Hawaiian resort.
No.
Anyway, so
they're on the jet.
Yeah. Wolverine warns Christy that her dad is not or Maverick is not the father that she remembered. Something has happened. I guess like they're kind of like telling us through all the different characters of Mystique, Wolverine, and Maverick. They didn't say that there was a brainwashing, but everyone's like experiences are kind of like giving you the pieces that there's like a brainwash process.
Yeah, and then you see sad Mystique outside, and you get the flashback where at one point there's like as his name gets called out, you saw there was like that flashback moment for him, and then this gives you the rest of it where he is seeing Mystique about to get the injections. He goes and he makes the save, and as they're escaping, they get stopped by Sabretooth, and they keep saying like, oh yeah, until Mystique joined the team we had something good, and it kept reminding me of your whole like romantic jealousies from Sabretooth and Wolverine.
I didn't think about that.
It's like she came in and fucked up the bromance.
Yo, we stay, and this is not even limited to this cartoon, this animated show. I know this from friends talking about the comic books. We stan a bi energy Wolverine. Like he's there for Scott and Jean, you know.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, it's like me and Creed had a thing.
Yep.
Till Raven came in.
Yep. He was the otter with the bear, and then the very obviously bi-coded woman joined the relationship.
Yeah. So that obviously that explains why Mystique looked back earlier.
Yeah,
at the two of them fighting.
During that fight, he says, "Go on, I'll find you."
Yeah.
And then the impression we get from that is essentially, he ends up getting another brainwash after the fact, which is why he never went after her.
Yeah, and this is also where we see Wolverine call Sabretooth Creed. So I guess they're just trying to do all like the Weapon X name drops here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Wolverine gives the pretty valid question of like, well, why didn't you say something? And because of her knowledge of the program and everything like that, she's like, that person was gone and I couldn't bring him back. So it was like kind of bittersweet for Mystique, and she hadn't had the Jennifer Lawrence moment yet, so she wasn't like in a heroic character version. We also saw her like she's literally one of like Magneto's people and stuff like that. So I kind of liked that with Mystique of like, yeah, give her a little bit of a humanizing moment, but it's not like a redemption story. It's just she was trying to just help this girl in this scenario.
Yeah. Then back at the mansion, the Maverick's in like the med bay. Emma, I guess, is basically functioning as Professor Xavier in this version of the team.
Yep.
So she comes back and tells Logan, like, his mind is much like yours in that it's so like broke.
It's mush.
Yeah, it's like so fragmented. But she this is very like Full House kind of moment. She's like, but there are trace memories of you, Christy. And then
she was able to find one. Yeah.
Yeah. Maverick wakes up and he's like, Christy, and they have their happy, like, I guess relatively happy moment.
Yeah, you do get the happy moment, which I feel like we're getting more happy moments in this show compared to some of the other ones. Like,
right.
I don't know. There were like one or two episodes of Evolution that just ended on like shit sucks here.
Yeah. Oh, like the mall episode. Like, yeah, they lost.
Bye, losers. Yeah. Yeah. Or, hey, a bunch of our friends almost all died and we don't have a mansion anymore. Cut to credits.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it ended. Like we said, like, not a bad episode, but compared to the last one, man, like, it's tough act to follow.
I mean, it's coming in at a 7.9, so it's still in the upper tier from an episode perspective. But like, yeah, there's we got a Wolverine origin episode, which are always good. I'm curious how many we're going to get in this season, because it is a full 26 episode season. Yeah. So I hope we get at least one more with Sabretooth. Also, again, just spitting on the legacy of the directors from Hulk versus Wolverine of saying Sabretooth is dead.
It was a clone. It was a wizard.
It was a wizard.
Okay.
Here's the thing. It's a clone. Would have actually worked better here.
Right?
Because, yeah, they definitely are cloning Creed and, all that shit.
Because they introduced X-23.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they could easily have been... Maybe they probably won't. Maybe they do. They have the opportunity to. I was kind of... it was cool to me to see, like, a Mystique origin, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Not an origin, but, like, we see...
History.
It's one of those rare times, like, we see, like, not just vaguely mysterious...
Yeah.
She came out of the shadows.
And it was something outside of just the norm of a relationship with Rogue or a relationship with Kurt, too.
Yeah, like Moses-ing Nightcrawler.
The Nightcrawler in the reeds, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
But, yeah, was there anything else with that to the episode?
Dude, there are no trivia facts about any of these fucking episodes on any of the wikis. It's wild to me.
If you know any yourself, leave them in the comments.
I mean, like, there was on the last episode we talked about the Kleinrock trio, the brothers and stuff like that. There was like one instance of all the names of the different characters mentioned, and then like nothing else on it. It's wild.
Wow.
Yeah, like even the appearance of Professor Rao in the last episode is like I had to like look up Tilby's name and then go over Tildy.
I wrote down Tildy, but
yeah, Tildy. Yeah, not Tilby. Tilby is Trish's last name. Anyway, we've been recording for a while, and honestly, I feel like we get a little out of practice because now we're doing this like once a month as opposed to every other week, and I'm like, it takes me a second to get like back in the groove. Also, at the time of recording, I'm like a week away from a big launch, and I'm fucking mentally shot right now. So by the next episode, I will be much more energetic.
I was also going to say the episodes are kind of... I could imagine how frustrating it is to watch this because, like you mentioned, that time jump of like when the episodes aired, but also like this is not related to the previous episode
at all.
So like it's like a long time before you get to return to storylines and stuff. But anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, you have a bigger week. Both of us have big weeks coming up, so we're gonna wrap up. But thanks for joining us. If you have any thoughts, make sure to drop them into the comments for either the YouTube upload or official Instagram post about the episode. If you like what you heard, we'd appreciate a rating on the podcast app you're choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, oh God, it's got time to go. iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, and we're still trying to be number one on Castbox. I think I haven't looked.
The X-Men hat is over my shoulder right now too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we both have Sentinels, and nobody noticed.
Yep,
I got one.
I got the Lego one right there.
And for some reason, Lucy's still napping, so
we're supposed to go for another 15 minutes because Lucy didn't say to cut yet, and we have to listen to our producer. Oh.
That's the sign?
That's the sign.